Grand Rising, everyone.
Grand Rising.
And Rising.
It is Saturday, guys, April 25th, 2026, 10:03 a.m. We'll get started and see if we have any questions this morning. See where we're coming from or where we're going. Uh, One of the things I remembered last week that uh, uh, we got into is Sheldon gave us some insight into melanin, and we were talking about that pretty much the whole weekend. And some of the discussion about carbon, but the thing that I think that I remembered the most is our discussion with empathy, and how that emotion will be a way to to bring enlightenment or share melanin with everyone on the face of the earth, having that type of compassion for people, being able to feel each other's pain and recognize who we are most of all, and letting that be your strength. And that was something that has stayed with me all week. So, uh, anyone, questions or comments on anything that has been discussed or that you may want to bring up this morning? Hey, no one? Do you have something, Nick?
I want I want to make a statement,
Yeah.
offer a suggestion anyway.
Okay.
We've been talking about we are the light that's in the live within the confines of the pineal gland and communicate with the entire body and everything outside of it. And what I've noticed in our discussion is that it's rather difficult for some of us to embrace the reality that we are God. Um, and it's I found also that it's difficult for some of us to wrap our heads around uh, the inherent power that we have been granted by the cosmic mother. So I want to offer a suggestion. Every time that you say my hand or my head or my foot, my whatever, in reference to your body, what you're actually doing is reminding yourself that you're not your body. You're reminding yourself that you are the light that that resides in the pineal gland. And I offer this as a suggestion because we're so frequently we use the word I need to wash my hands or I need to do this to my body. Those kinds of things are reminders as to who we really are and how how what how much authority we have in this earth. So I want if you think well of it, then I'll offer that suggestion for just as a reminder. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Questions, anyone? Okay. Pastor, do you have anything else?
I wanted to see if there are any questions or comments about what Sheldon spoke in reference to about the melanin as well as melanin as well as about our discussion about empathy that kind of sort of came on the heels of Sheldon's presentation. See if Sheldon wants to add anything to what you had to say. You there, Sheldon?
The only question I had with it, I wanted to know where he was going with the superpowers. He didn't get through with those. Uh, at least I don't think he did. Superpowers of melanin. He brought started talking about that, and we, of course, how we do, we get a hold of it, and we get start a discussion.
I don't see his number, so apparently he's not on today.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or insight about anything that we discussed?
This is Pramel. Would you mind giving a little more clarity when are you saying we should think I am the light? I am light when we say my hand, I'm going to wash my hand. Is that what you're saying?
What I was asking, I suppose, a more of a question. When you say you're going to wash your hands, right? Who is the my?
Gotcha. The my is
Is you.
me.
And
Yeah,
who are you? If those are your hands, then who are you to have hands?
I am God.
And that means that you are something separate from this body, right?
Right. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. And I am also saying that um, it's funny how we can accept Judaism with the little beanie hats that they wear
Mm-hmm.
as a means to quote unquote keep the light from escaping, as if the light can't escape through a cap. But
Is that really the purpose of that?
as far as I know, that's what the last thing I read about it, that's what it was.
Okay.
That's why they keep it right there.
On the crown, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
the last thing I read about it was, unless there's someone else who knows more about it than I do, and I'm sure it is.
Not that I know more about it, but something to add to it. Hey everyone, is the so that it's also related to the chakras as well, because all that is wrapped up in uh, parts of Judaism too. Because the top of the head is the crown, and that
Right.
is in other spiritual traditions, that is also where you exit the body and enter the body when you are born and when you die, quote unquote. And so doing like putting that little cap over the top of that part of the head is supposed to in some way be uh, respectful of that energy, even though that is not what is sort of explicitly talked about in the religious sense of what Judaism is. But um, that's why in other cultures, like you don't touch the top part of the head, you don't cut your hair, that part of the body energetically and metaphysically is very significant. But uh, spiritually and metaphysically, that is sort of what that's related to. And it's like the why when you're a baby, that top you have the soft spot on the top of your head because
Yeah.
you are not fully yet entrenched, for lack of a better term, in this physical experience. And so it's like the physical uh, representation of the fact that that energy flows much more freely because it is not there's not like a hard separation, both physically and spiritually, because this physical material is as we've spoken about before, an expression of metaphysical and spiritual reality.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Oh, and one more thing. The menorah of Judaism has 7 candlesticks on it, and that's the 7 chakras as well. And this is just off the top of, well, I suspect that if there was any sort of symbol of Sephardic versus Ashkenazi Judaism, which is basically saying the difference between the Middle Eastern and the white people, the people who in some way learned the science of Kemet, and the Eastern Europeans who messed that up and reinterpreted it and made it into something that it was not, is the difference between the symbol of the menorah and the symbol of the Star of David. This is like I said, I suspect that this is the case because the Star of David comes out of the more Eastern European tradition, and I believe it's related to those spiritual traditions that were present in that part of the world, because the Star of David is also in the center of the heart chakra. That's the same symbol, and that comes out of India and that part of the world as that spiritual tradition. Now that would have been similarly taught at Kemet, and that's why you get the 7 candlesticks on the menorah from the Sephardic tradition. So all those things are wrapped up in what became known as Judaism and distorted in various ways, as we know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. When you said became known as Judaism, the whole idea, first of all, there is no such thing as a Jew. When you look in the Bible, everything that's interpreted or translated as Jew, if you look at the original word, is Judah. It is not Jew. Jews diverted from gypsies in Eastern Europe. Gypsies are olive-skinned people, and Jews are pink people or white people. They're white people. And the white people who were thieves and con artists were called Jews. And the olive-skinned people were called gypsies. And the difference between the two is, as Nick said, the white people in Eastern Europe began to take on Judaism, and the effort that they used to put forth to take over Judaism was not because they believed in God or believed in their religion. They took over Judaism because as a group of thieves, as a group of criminal empire, they used religion as a cover. And the religion, and what they did, they embraced Judaism, but all the time they are Zionists. And in doing so, they became more effective than the mafia, than the Italian mafia, when it comes to exerting themselves and gaining power and authority in the earth. And the way they did that is by moving into different parts of Europe and compromising governments. So when we talk about Jews, we're not talking about a religious sect of people. We're talking about Zionists who are actually an Eastern European gang, or no different than a mafia family. And if you follow the history of it, you will see that to be true. And that is the reason Western Europeans did not associate with Jews, because they knew that they were a criminal gang, a criminal empire. And that is the reason they were thrown out of every country that they have been in, because in every country they've been in, they sought to usurp the authority in that country by controlling the economy of the country. And that's what happened to them in Russia, and that's what happened to them in Germany. The difference between Russia and Germany is that this criminal gang in Germany, in Russia rather, were thrown out of Russia because of an attempt, and I talked about this before, but not to this depth, because of an attempt to overthrow the Tsar. And when they were driven out of the country, no country would take them except Germany. And when Germany embraced them, what did they do? They started the World War II. There were 14,000 Jews who had pulled themselves together from Eastern Europe and from the other parts of Europe, but primarily 14,000 signed a petition in Eastern Europe to overthrow Germany. And if you study the history of it, you will see that Hitler did not attack them, that the Jews attacked Germany, and Germany defended itself against them. And the Jews in America who were in the State Department are the ones who controlled the narrative. And they are the ones who convinced the American government to get involved in World War II, because the Jews were being slaughtered when the Jews were the ones who initiated the war itself, just like they did in Iran and just like they did in Gaza. So when we talk about this idea of a Jew, we're talking about criminals. We're talking about a criminal empire who has always sought to have a country that they could control for their own benefit. And when the British agreed to give them Palestine, what did they do? The first thing they did is use Britain and U.S. and France to go to the United Nations and petition Palestine. And the goal from the beginning was for them to control the entire area. And they have encroached to the point where they are indeed in control of the whole of Palestine, inclusive of the West Bank. So, and Gaza. So when we look at what's happening in Iran, this is no different, because the Zionists who are in this Palestinian land called Israel now have as a goal to set up a nation that controls the entire Arab world and Africa, primarily the Middle East and Africa itself, the whole area. And they thought that the biggest obstacle that they had was Iran. And that is the reason Netanyahu, for the last 50 years, been trying to get America to attack Iran. And that has happened. Not only that, but they have also encroached upon the South America. And one of the countries that's more deeply aligned with America is Argentina. And Argentina's president is Netanyahu's first cousin. So they're establishing a a Zionist presence in the Western Hemisphere as well, because the ultimate goal is to control the world. And if you do a deep dive into the history of World War II, it'll lead you all the way back to everything that I've said to you. And if you look at the etymology of the word Jew, you will find no difference between the word Jew and the word gypsy. And again, the only reason the names are different is because Jews were white, they were Europeans, and gypsies were olive-skinned people who came from the area of the Mediterranean. I'm done. Any questions or comments about that? Now, why do I say that? Why did I bring this up? The reason is because there are too many people in this country, especially people who stand in pulpits who look like us, who sympathize with the Jews. They sympathize with what's happening in Israel, and they are totally oblivious of why they are against Iran. They see Iran, as they've been sold by Christianity, as a group of Arabs who hate Christians, and that's not true at all. That's a lie that America has perpetuated because that was the desires of the Jews. If you look, I think it's the ADL, Jewish, it's the JDL, Jewish Defense League, the JDL. If you look at the origins of it, it was in defense of a Jew who had molested a child. And I think it's the JDL. Anyway, one of those groups that pushes anti-Semitism as a defense for everything that they do. They're the ones who made the statement, who said in a meeting that it was imperative for them to institute, to use propaganda rather, saying that anybody who criticizes the Jews is anti-Semitic, and that will protect them. Protection included allowing them to do anything that they chose to do. And right now, what we are seeing is that our ancestors are not only exposing them, but our ancestors are also diminishing the power and control that they have in the area where they live. And they're diminishing the control in this country as well. For the first time since World War II, actually shortly before World War II, for the first time, the number of people in Congress who are refusing to take money from the Jewish establishment, AIPAC, has increased more so than ever since AIPAC been in existence. And the people who are more primarily resisting AIPAC is a lobby group that controls Congress, excuse me, and the presidency and the Supreme Court. And the people who are rebelling the most against AIPAC are the Gen Z Jews, the young Jewish community in this country and in worldwide are beginning to expose it for what it is. And do I think that the term Jew will ever be dropped from our vernacular? I think it will eventually when people begin to see that this word Jew is a made-up thing. It's an antisocial construct. It is a governmental agency of manipulation. And I do believe it will drop because the more people begin to understand that it is no different than what was attributed to the gypsies, only more deadly because of the color of their skin, then we will begin to see more order in the world. Because even though America is considered the place where disorder is spread around the world under the guise of Christianity, the most dangerous group of people in the world are those who live in what is called Israel. And the reason they're so dangerous is because not only do they influence and control the American government, but they also influence and control the government, the European governments as well. Last week, one of the conservatives in Parliament in England, who was a staunch supporter of Israel, took the floor to express his abandonment of the stance that he had taken because he, as he put it, he could not live with this any longer. I don't care what happened; it doesn't matter. What brought him to the point of being able to see now the genocidal tendencies of Israel. And the thing that got him the most, I suppose, that opened his eyes was when Israel ordered Trump to join them in attacking Iran, and then issuing justification for Israel entering Lebanon, because this is not about Iranian proxies. This is about land grabs and geographic control in an area that Israel has always wanted to control, and at the same time having control over the production and distribution of oil from that part of the world, which would increase their control over the world. So you say, well, all of this is politics. No, it's not. No, it's not. This is a religious group of people who have joined forces with Christianity to fight Islam. And the battle against Islam is not a Christian battle. It's a greedy battle against Islam, because the Arabs, who are just as racist towards us as anybody else, the Arabs are in control of the land that produces a great deal of the world's oil. Even though Nigeria is beginning to increase their presence in the world when it comes to the production of oil, because they produce the highest grade of sweet oil in the world, and they have their own refinery now. But the primary thing is that Israel's desires to control are now beginning to fall apart. And as we have desired before, that these great powers, the powers of Babylon, began to crumble in order for the world to be in a state of balance that it has not experienced since the beginning. So I say all of that so we can be more aware of what's taking place around us. And the reason that there is such a desire to separate the state from religion is because it is another way of putting blinders on the people, primarily on people who look like us, because we are the quote unquote highest, we have a higher level of spirituality than anybody on the earth, and we are more gullible as a result of that to religion itself, especially Christianity and Islam. And both of those are our enemy in terms of seeking to manipulate, control, and destroy us. So anyway, I leave it there unless there are questions or comments.
This is
Now,
Ramel. I have a question.
mhm.
So is empathy the duality or the balancer to greed?
It's not, empathy is not a duality at all. Empathy emotional expression that feels for, put yourself in the shoes of those who are enduring pain. And what does that have to do with Europeans? Europeans are children, and they don't really understand what they are doing. They know what they're doing, but understanding and knowing are two different things. The nuances of what's happening, they have no clue. They have no clue as to the damage they're doing to themselves. Not to us, they don't care about the damage to us, but about the damage they're doing to themselves. And when I talk about having empathy towards them, I'm talking about having empathy towards them is no different than having empathy for your children. And I do believe with everything in me that the expression of empathy towards them begins to give them a conscience and begins to touch them in places they've never been touched before. And let me hastily explain what I mean by that before everybody jumps through this camera and beat me down. What I mean by that is that they are self-destructing and they don't realize it. They are rebelling against God and they don't realize it. What they have done, those who do know what they're doing, are not the overwhelming majority of the Europeans. They don't know. They're just following a leadership that told them that you're better than anybody who don't look like you. You're superior to them. Now, the ones who do know, like the founders of this country, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, all of them knew the nuances of us being God and them seeking to control us, while at the same time milking us for everything that they could get out of us in terms of work and creativity. So when I talk about Netanyahu or Trump, I'm talking about an attitude, the attitude of the people who has controlled this world, the Europeans who have controlled this world, the Arabs who have controlled that portion of Africa. Their mindset is the same. And the sameness of their mindset is to control Africa and Africans, Acabelonians, and to control Acabelon because of its wealth. Now, are they truly against each other? Yes. Christianity and Islam creates divisiveness between the two. There once was a rift between Jews and Christianity, but they fixed that in the year 2000, and they came together on the basis of being white, as opposed to based on our religious similarities, because Islam in many ways is indeed similar to what is called Judaism as well as Christianity. So when you ask the question about empathy and how it works, this empathy that we express, as I said, touches a space inside of them, and they begin to move differently than they have in the past, not as a result of falling in love with us, but as a result of suffering, as we have suffered. And that suffering puts them in a place where our empathy is being expressed towards them because we've been there. And rather than standing on the sideline saying, I'm glad this is happening to you, standing on the sideline saying, we have empathy for you because we know what you're going through. And that in itself is the energy that is necessary to move them to search for a better way. And a better way being a way to rid themselves or overcome the evilness that they labor under, or overcome the problems that they're facing which are the same problems that we face. And this empathy towards them, when it touches them, they begin to move in a different direction. And when they do that, we have opportunity as our presence energy in the earth, because we are the ones who dominate the earth. So our primary energy in the earth is to do what? Is to make sure that the principles of Mayat are the dominant force in the world, and it being the dominant force or the dominant energy in the world. When people begin to search for something better, this that we have in the macro, this environment that we are weaving together, an environment of peace and harmony, is predicated on the foundational principles of Mayat. And in that search, they began to feel and see something different. It doesn't mean that they're going to become God, but it does mean that they begin to learn to gain a respect for their Creator. And we can see that being forced in many different ways if you look at social media, because there are so many white males and even more white women who are expressing the true belief in what is real, and that is that we are the divinity that exists in the earth. And the primary divinity that exists in the earth are those of us who are of a Babylonian descent. And that is the power of being empathetic towards them. I hope that helps you, Vermeil.
It helped very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, just wanted to just a couple of things. The term Jew, Jewish people is reserved or is applied to many people, but when we say the Jews, quote unquote, we're not talking about Anne Frank. The people we are talking about do not care about their people who are harmed or killed as, collateral as far as they're concerned. So these are the dominant power structure forces within a group of people who think that they have a right to dominate and enslave everything on the planet. And it's not exclusive to the group of people that we designate Jewish. It's a term that describes a mindset, and there is a group of people who became associated with that sort of religious and cultural tradition that we would identify on the surface as Judaism. But I want to make the distinction between, like I said, we're not talking about Anne Frank. So what Hitler and the Nazis did to regular people within Germany, for example, horrifying beyond thinking. But as we've been speaking about, the source of that was because of the infiltration and attack by this group of people, or this people of this mindset. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
Nick, from my understanding, so are these Zionists, and Zionists can be Zionist Jewish American, Zionist Jewish, whatever nationality they want to be?
Yeah, I mean, you can be
Okay.
Jewish in the ethnicity or the religion or the culture in whatever nationality. That doesn't necessarily mean you are a Zionist. And when we say the Jews, we're talking about Zionists.
Okay. And that's the mindset.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they would also associate it with ethnicity because they use that as ethnicity as a means of putting themselves at the top of a hierarchy, but it doesn't really.
All right.
It's the mindset that is the common denominator.
Okay. Thank you.
And according to Red Cross figures, it was close to 300,000 people that were killed. There was nowhere near 6 million Jews killed in Germany. Nowhere near 6 million Jews. And I know that what I'm saying can bring about some grief. I don't even care. The truth of the matter is, if you look at the Red Cross figures, and if you look at the newspapers from that era, you will see that there was nowhere near 6 million Jews. And the number 6 million, I just remember where it came from, but it was not arbitrarily chosen, but it was used as a method to bring greater empathy towards that group of people who instigated everything that happened to them. They were the instigators of what happened to them in Germany. It was not initiated by Hitler, even though Hitler did what he did. Keep in mind also that these concentration camps where they were being killed the guards were Jews. So the Zionist Jews are the ones who, the Zionists rather, are the ones who call themselves Jews. And they are the ones who not only initiated, but they also were guards at the camps. So there is a lot involved in the history of what happened during World War II. And if you also look at the writings of some of the rabbis, you will find that everything I'm saying is authenticated not only by the Red Cross, but by rabbis also who are willing to tell the truth about the existence of Zionism and what they are truly engaged in, as opposed to being the people who suffered more than anybody else in the world. And I don't see how we as a people can embrace that BS, knowing that there were 15 million of us killed by King Leopold, not counting the rest of the other European countries who committed genocide in Africa as well. So I'm sorry, I am not an advocate of 6 million Jews being killed because it wasn't 6 million Jews. And the other part of that is that there were countries in Poland, and Georgia, Estonia. These countries were they worked in tandem with Hitler after he began to rid Germany of the Jews. He did it in a different way than they did in Russia. And the reason he did it in a different way they did it in Russia is because the Jews did not wage war against Russia, but they did wage war against Germany. I'm done.
Hey everybody, I have a question. So what does empathy look like when it comes to those people, the Zionists and Islam for that matter?
The Muslims are experiencing what we have experienced in terms of being denigrated and attacked by virtue of a group of people who seek not to wipe them off the earth as much as to control them. That's the empathy that we have for them because we've been there. Do they hate us? Of course they do. But that does not give us the right to return the hatred. The same thing with the Zionists in Israel. And the best known Zionist is Netanyahu, and that attitude, that mindset of Zionism. We have empathy for the people because they not only the rank and file don't only know what's going on, yet they follow the pattern of hatred. Our empathy for them is their ignorance, and then when it comes to those who do know what they're doing, the the reminder is this: not father, but Avum, which is father, mother. Forgive them, for they don't know what they know not what they do. And the other one is, if they knew that who they were crucifying, they never would have crucified the deliverers. When it says, if they knew who they were crucifying, they would not have crucified the deliverers, or they would not have crucified Christ, which is the anointed ones. So that's how I see the empathy. I have been shown that empathy is working in this case. Does that help, Audrey?
So we don't return hate for hate?
Absolutely not.
Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. I remember during our age of growing up, you don't do evil for evil. Two wrongs doesn't make a right. Those kinds of things that we were brought up with had more a deeper belief to them than we understood at the time, than I did anyway, in my village. But as I grew older and wiser, I am able to see what that meant more so than I did when I was younger. So yes, that's what I'm saying, Audrey.
And to add to that, in terms of when we vibrate with empathy, with the mindset that is in alignment with the balance that that Mayat or Mayat creates, it creates it's like a field, and that field of energy and awareness and consciousness comes to, for lack of a better term, dominate the earth. And anything within that field must align itself with that, or basically be, like the body getting rid of waste or getting rid of a disease or something like that. So when that positivity and empathy is what dominates, then anything that is not in alignment with that must either change or leave. And it is in that way that energy that we put out forces the change of that negative mindset, or makes it an offer it can't refuse.
Audrey,
Thank you. Oh, Mom, you were muted if you were saying something.
Can she hear us?
Audrey,
Can
are
you-
you able to hear us?
Sorry, no.
Oh,
What did you ask?
did you hear me?
Did you hear what Nick said?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
I didn't hear your question.
No, it was a statement being made, and I thought Nick made a statement. I thought you said something in regards to that. but you were muted.
Oh, oh, no.
Okay,
Sorry, no.
thanks. Ron?
I've given some thought, really some meditation on empathy this week, and even on love before that, I guess, and trying to wrap my mind around the power of that uh, in the midst of all this chaos, uh, bringing your emotions and your feelings to a place like that. And I try to put myself in the place of a parent and how that feels. Um, I'm reminded of something that happened to me when I was, I think in the fourth grade. This girl named Diane, I know her last name, but I'm not going to mention her last name, but Diane beat the hell out of me and my brother. I mean, she did. And uh, when we got home that day, me and him got in a fight for him even getting in a fight with Diane. Uh, 'Cause I was mad at him.
Forget
But huh? But later I found out something. And I mean later being within a couple of days. Diane had a little background on her. Diane was probably a special need kid as far as mentally going. And my Diane was a troubled kid who had always been kind of disruptive in class. And so they kept passing her and passing her and passing her. So Diane was in the 11th grade when they found out she couldn't read and write. And they brought her back to the 5th grade. Now, if you can imagine somebody that age being in the 5th grade. So I was in the 4th and my brother was in the 6th. And one day he was on the yard counting money. And Diana punched him and took his money. And that's what started the fight. And I was known as the protector of my family, and somebody came and got me. Well, Diane didn't like that one bit either. But to make a long story short, one of the teachers called me to the side who was in Diane's neighborhood. Her father was an alcoholic who beat the whole family. And there were days that those kids didn't eat. And Diane had not eaten in a while. And when she saw my brother counting money, she didn't know any other way but to take it because she was used to violence. And when I heard about her story and I knew one of her siblings and I knew he was just as violent as she was, it made me see her in a different light. And I remember going back to school looking for her. And although I didn't have any money, I would have given her food or anything that I had because it just didn't make sense to me that a kid did not have food to eat. Uh, and I remember my anger kind of vanishing, and I felt bad for her. By then, they had taken Diane out of school, and they didn't know what to do with her, and they transferred her to some other school that I never, in other words, I never saw Diane again. Uh, but it made me think about empathy. And I'm talking, I was just a kid then, but the thing that knowing that someone that age did not have a way to take care of herself and didn't have anything to eat for days bothered me. And that's what I thought about. That's what sort of helps me sometimes when I think about love. When I see something on television or see something, because it looks like to me that maybe I'm becoming more sensitive to it, but it looks like to me the violence between us as a people has been on the increase. And I'm talking about child against parents and parents against children and siblings against each other. And, you know, so, but that episode, I get my butt kicked, helps me to see empathy and kind of put some things in perspective a little bit. And I just want to share that with you because that's always been with me, and I think it always will be.
I think that's a good example of what we're talking about him.
Good morning. Ron, I appreciate you sharing that story.
Thank you, Frank.
I've been reading in the NIV version of the Bible every day for the past 6 days, Romans chapter 12. And I'd like to share it because I feel it has this connection to how we can embody the principles of empathy as it relates to how we relate to each other. And I think your story, Ron, really illuminates that. A living sacrifice. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Humble service in the body of Christ. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. And so I wanted to share that because it made me think about the importance of empathy in what we are to be doing here in society. And I've been trying to really immerse myself in that understanding. And I think, Ron, to your point of seeing more of the violence that is happening, I think that because I too have been seeing it, I think it is a way that we are becoming more attuned to the things that are happening that we have to now take and assume the charge of praying to change. I think it's always been there, but we're becoming more connected to it in a way to address it in the manner in which Pastor has acknowledged. We don't respond to anger with anger, but it gives us the space to address these things with the proper love and empathy that is needed to try to shift that energy so that others can see the type of alternative that exists in the spiritual. That's all I want to share.
Very good point, Frank. You're right. Anyone?
That caught my attention. One of the things that caught my attention is when Frank read the part that talked about, know ye not that your body is a living sacrifice. What does that look like? Now, don't get me wrong. I got the point, Frank. That's a great point to make in reference to what Ron shared with us a moment ago. But know ye not that your body is a living sacrifice. This, what came to me as Frank was reading, was this is an example of what we started with when talking about my body. Whose body is it? Don't give so much attention to your body until you lose sight of who you really are. This thing of sacrifice does not mean giving up something, it means gaining something. So when we don't give more attention to our bodies than we should, it is then that we begin to recognize that we are far more than these bodies. We begin to recognize that we are indeed the light that brings everything into existence. One of the things that came to my mind also is when we were talking about melanin. If it were not for light, there would be no melanin. Because everything that exists came from light, came from truth, came from enlightenment. And the reason that melanin is so closely related to light is because enlightenment speaks to the spiritual, and melanin gives life to the physical. So all of that came to me while Frank was reading that passage that was purported to be written by Paul. So thanks again for bringing that to our attention. And I thank the ancestors for bringing that enlightenment that I just shared with you guys. Thank you.
What it made me think of is basically the principles of Ma'at. Truth, harmony, justice, honesty, reciprocity, all of that, and then the 42 confessions. It's right along the same lines as that.
Yeah.
So that's what it made me think about.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Everybody, can everybody feel or have in their own words or their own experiences what empathy looks like or feels like? Maybe, sort of.
Yeah, Ashay.
Okay. Just like Frank, I'll say this and then I'll hush. Uh, you guys hear me talk about Genesis all the time, I guess, when I look at stuff. But the journey that the so-called Abraham took, that we know as Abraham took in the journey, that piece of energy. And if you notice, there's a pattern to it. The pattern is every time he's following a journey based on what he feels, the compass that he feels inside. And he's the pauses that he takes are for his benefit, and it all enhances the journey. So when he stops in something, that thing that appears to be a problem, whether it's a battle or taking changing a route or having to dig a well, whatever takes place, all of it has a meaning for him to enhance his journey and see who he is. And that's kind of how I look at what we're doing and what we're on. The journey to truth, uh, and the things we see and encounter is to enhance who we are and the understanding of what we're doing. It's not personal, nor is it uh, something to be a hindrance. So I guess I'm at a place where I'm starting to look at and see things differently, and uh, maybe look at what not only Ron, but what we are to gain from it as a group as we move on. So all the stuff we're talking about, whether we're talking about the war, whether we're talking about what's going on in Gaza or what's happening in Russia or wherever, all of that is for our enhancement, is how I see it. And so there's none of that that is defeating or stronger, but just to bring us wisdom and understanding.
I can see that, Ron.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We and you've heard this. We've talked about this so many times. Our being where we are in relationship to what's happening around us. I do not believe that. Well, let me put it this way. The current president is not going to complete his term, and that's not the important part of it. In order for Babylon to fall, there must be chaos in Babylon. Meaning that when Babylonians began to see each other as the enemy, that is when their concerted efforts that's geared toward the control of wealth and people begins to diminish. The reason that we are able to see the advances and this sovereignty of a Babylon being embraced and brought to the forefront is because Babylon is so busy trying to save itself. An example of that is trying to save yourself, but at the same time being self-destructive. in England and other European countries during the war between Israel, U.S., and Iran. As all of us know, the Straits of Hormuz were blocked. And there is a Babylonian in Nigeria who built a refinery. And he sent a tanker of oil to England, and they refused it. They said it had too much sulfur in it, and Nigerian oil has less sulfur in it than any oil on earth. And they returned it. The war goes on in between Israel, Iran, and the U.S., and there is no oil coming that way. Their planes are about to be deprived of the ability to serve their customers because they're about to run out of jet fuel. So the English leadership calls the Nigerian owner of the refinery, who is a Babylonian, and says that they need the oil. And they return the oil to Britain or to England and some other nations. And as a result of that, they meaning those countries, are able to keep planes in the air and to keep gas in cars, etc. This seems to be benign. However, it is not. The message in this is that even when it comes to what seems to be rudimentary things, when compared to the light that we are, there is a recognition that the European cannot function without the Babylonian. And as a result of what happened, the world powers are making efforts to diminish the influence that this Nigerian has in the world of oil distribution. But at the same time, they are fighting each other. We have the greed of Europeans fighting the oil barons, the Arabs, who have stolen the oil from us. And at the same time, these same Europeans are beginning to depend on a country that they murdered through oil leaks. The oil production in Nigeria by the petroleum companies out of England in particular, BP, Shell, reduced the life expectancy in the valley, the oil valley of Nigeria, to 41 years because of poisoning the water and the ground. Now, the dependency is on a refinery that says we will process our own oil and you will have to pay for it. This is not about money. It appears on the surface to be. But this is about a recognition that one of the most sought after commodities on earth that is directly related to survival, or comfort, etc., is now seeing a growth in the control of it by the ones who owns it. So what I am saying is, when Babylon sees that it must be submissive to the Babylonian, that is when they become more vicious. And that is when enlightenment becomes more prevalent. And that is when we, by virtue of putting things in the macro and maintaining the stance that we have, that we are the divine energy, the divine force, the divine rhythm of this earth. That is when Babylon began to see that it is crumbling and begins to turn against each other. This battle between American and European nations, there was a time when we could say that this is on the surface, but they are involved in this war. They are when it comes to intelligence, but they aren't when it comes to physicality, and refuses to do this. The ending of this war will spell a lot, will show us a lot. When we talk about the demise of Babylon, we are not talking about the demise of a people. We're talking about the demise of a mindset. And that mindset that has been destructive towards the Babylonians in particular, and gracious to others who don't look like us. That mindset is now turning on itself. And when I talk about that mindset, it is inclusive of the Arabs as well. I have no respect for their mindset because I see them no differently than the Europeans in that mindset. I do not see Arabs any different than Europeans because they are Europeans. They are Eurasians, to be honest with you. That's who they are. So they have that that genetic mindset of greed, and I have no compunctions about being vicious, even though Israel, the U.S., and Europe are talking about the deadliness of Iran. They are no different than Iran. When they talk about not having a nuclear weapon, that's simply because of them not being able to control Iran. However, one of the deterrents to this nuclear weapon is that Israel and the U.S. were considering using a tactical nuclear weapon, and China says to both of them, if you use a nuclear weapon on Iran, Israel will cease to exist. So what I'm saying to you is this: constantly remind yourself of who you are, because without that, we cannot hope to bring stability to this earth. Because right now, this earth has never been in a more unstable space than it is right now. The instability that we are experiencing in this earth, this instability came as a result of us putting in the macro our desire for harmony. And in doing so, recognizing that the founders of this country usurped the powers of Kemet for their own use. And by virtue of us taking it back, we begun to actually create stability, because unstable minds began to do unstable things when it feels threatened. Also, there is a push to regain the square that DC occupied when it was laid out, based upon comedic dimensions as well as comedic symbols. That land was part of the land was ceded to Northern Virginia. I think in 56 maybe, but anyway, it was ceded to Northern Virginia, and they're making efforts to get it back. The reason they want it back is to reinstate the power structure that they knew that they had when it was intact. Now that that power, it has not been ceded, it has been taken away. They are searching for ways to regain that energy, the control of that energy. So right now, it is imperative that we be the stalwarts of stability. We must stabilize humanity, even as the instability of the mindset of the European becomes more and more fragile and more vicious. When we are stable as a people, we are able to handle the instability of this mindset as well as the viciousness of it. When you have no control over the vibrations of the earth or the energy of the earth, when you cannot manipulate it any longer, it is then that you begin to fall apart. One of the things that excuse me, that we have not given much attention to is that in the early 30s, the Rockefellers shifted the hertz of music to, I think it's from 432 to 440. And the reason they did it is because they understood that 440 hertz creates music that is destabilizing and chaotic. And it was for the purpose of keeping people in a chaotic, desperate state of mind. And at 432, that's the hertz for nature itself, what keeps us one with nature. I mentioned this also because this is helping us hopefully, but to see the reason that these murders, these rebellions that run, and Frank were talking about earlier, are being seen more, and the sensitivity to them is actually empathy, being empathetic to those who are going through these things, and wishing that they did not have to go through these things. We are in a state right now where we have the opportunity to bring to change the hertz of music, to change the hertz of anything in this earth. We don't have to have a hertz generator to do it. We are God. We are the light of the world. We are deliverance. Jesus said, I say that ye are the light of the world. Deliverance is what that is. In order to be a deliverer, you must be enlightenment for the world. And we are that enlightenment for the world. And being that enlightenment, it does not matter what machines you use to change the hertz in music or in the vibration in the earth. We are the divine entities in this earth. And the ancestors are saying that we are the ones who determine what the hertz of everything is in this earth. Everything must vibrate with us, meaning that everything must vibrate at a divine hertz level. And in doing so, it grants us the opportunity to be the deliverers that we were brought into the earth to be the creators that we were created to be. Our being in tune with the energies that are provided for us or that enhances our being through the sunlight itself, our being able to embrace that is one of the things that grants us the wherewithal to bring everything into unicity with divinity. And in doing so, we also are regulating the hertz of everything that exists in this earth. It is impossible for us to vibrate with the rhythm of the universe and not cause the earth and everything in it to vibrate the same way. We are the powers, the energy that have been placed in this on this celestial ball called Earth for the purpose of dominating it, and the domination of it is making sure that the vibrating powers, energies in the Earth are vibrating in conjunction with the vibrations of the universe itself, which means that we are vibrating with creation. We are vibrating with the cosmic mother. We are vibrating with the womb of everything that brought everything into existence, and everything in this earth must vibrate with us, must have the same rhythm as we have. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Val. Thoughts or questions, anyone?
Is that clear to you?
Does it resonate with you? Does me.
Still sitting in it.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, when we talk about something resonating, we're talking about the rhythm of it. When something resonates, it means that you don't necessarily have to be able to regurgitate it or understand it all. But when it resonates, it means that it's bringing to your memory something that has been in you since antiquity. So when we talk about resonating, we're not so much teaching as we are bringing to your remembrance who you are and how you were fearfully and wonderfully created. Thank you.
Then I'd have to say it resonates.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Sheldon, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Hope you're doing the same.
Sir.
I've been listening to everything, and while listening to everything, I wrote, typing rather, some stuff as it relates to all that we've actually been talking about. And some of the wild ideas come from something that Nick put me on before, the Law of One, the raw material, as it relates. And I think about all that Pastor was talking about in terms of those, for lack of a better word, entities in the world. More so call them service to self or negative entities, if you will. And so I'm saying that, introducing that as I read this and as it relates to empathy and as it relates to addressing that which we've been talking about the past few sessions. These negative entities or service to self entities, if you will, are those driven by separation, control, and absorption of power from others. This runs opposite of that of us, service to others, driven by unity, unconditional love, and compassion. We, the when the service to self or those negative entities target a group or someone, it is through a crack of sorts, deep-seated fear or anxiety, righteous anger or judgment, extreme self-doubt or guilt. There's an attempt to amplify that emotion on us when we, in a sense, bring ourselves or allow ourselves to rest in that frequency. Do not fight. It is important not to attack and respond with anger, hatred, or desire to, quote unquote, destroy the evil, service to self entity. At least that of selfishness that doesn't align with natural harmony and the rules of love and oneness, unity. Sorry, that was part that I was supposed to erase out because my mind was trying to gather all this together. Anyway, in terms of do not fight. Do not fight this entity using anger, defensive hostility, or spiritual warfare. This quote-unquote negative entity feeds on negative emotional energy. If we fight with anger or fear, we're essentially serving and empowering them or it. The best defense, quote-unquote defense, against negative entities is to completely envelope ourselves in the vibration of unconditional love and light, empathy. Unconditional love operates at a frequency of pure unity and warmth. Negative entities are allergic to pure unconditional love. To them, it feels like blinding, painful light that they cannot penetrate. To a negative entity, the pure vibration and unconditional love is deeply uncomfortable, even painful. It is like turning on a blinding spotlight in a completely dark room. They cannot feed on it, they cannot manipulate it, and they cannot stand to be around it. We cannot be harmed unless we give negative entities an opening through fear, anger, self-doubt, or by consciously agreeing to it. If we firmly state our sovereignty and rest in love, those negative entities move on. Towards the negative and service to self, we greet with empathy. We shift our focus to our heart center. We radiate peace, joy, and unconditional love outward. We do not direct it at them as a weapon. We simply fill our own space with it so completely that they have nothing to latch on to. Fear feeds self to service and negative entities. Love dissolves it. I'm finished.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Hey,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that is something I would like to talk more about at some point. But when we talk about negative entities, as Dr. Phil Valentine of the University of Commission Sciences up in New York said, that I first remember hearing it years and years and years ago. The white people, quote unquote, the Jews, quote unquote, they have help in what they are doing. And we are trying to collectively, as humanity, get rid of those negative entities. Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe tomorrow we can pick up where Sheldon left and Nick mentioned dealing with these negative entities in a very positive manner. I think I do believe that it would be beneficial to us to expand on that.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
And
Beautiful session. Thank you. Anyone else don't want to be hasty and cut anybody off? Anyone else? Excellent discussion. I already look forward to continuing this tomorrow. Hope you have a great day.
thank you.
And,
You do as well. See you guys later.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
okay.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.